being punctual, right on time. He'd get me here, get me there. So just before we left, and we were standing in front of all the people, I turned to him and I said, "You know, doctor, I got some very good news for you. After observing the way you handled yourself, taking me around here and there, if this doctor thing doesn't work out for you, you can always get a job driving a taxi." It's nice to know you got backup, you know. Always have plan B. If the doctor thing doesn't work out. Oh, that hurts. Alhamdulillah. But let's now turn to our subject and think about this just for a minute. Because the human beings, we're all the same in some ways. We really are the same. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one who creates everything. And there isn't anything except He created it. Now, most people believing in God would accept that up to this point. And there's nothing being sustained except that He's the sustainer. And again, most people would agree to that, what you're saying. According to the monotheistic faiths of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, we all agree, according to the text, that there was one human being created first, a man, and God called him Adam. And we all even use the same word. No change in pronunciation from the Hebrew to the Aramaic, to the English, or to the Arabic. Adam. We all say Adam. It's strange, isn't it? Now, they've got different names for God, but we don't know who the God is, but we know who our Father was. It's interesting. Because there are many names for God. The reason the Muslims use Allah is because it has meaning along with being Allah's name. It comes from a root in Arabic, ilah. Ilah actually is something worshipped. Anything can be a worship. An ilah. Anything worshipped is an ilah. A rock, a stick, a stone, a bone, anything that moves or doesn't move can still be an ilah. Even a concept can be an ilah, a God. Like the money in your pocket. Did you ever notice it says right on it, "In God we trust"? Everybody else pays cash. Now I'm going to have to use that other laugh track. I didn't get it. In any case, what you worship depends on what your love or devotion or your desire is toward. You can't say, "I worship God," but at the same time you're really worshiping something He created. Those are just words that you're using. And it's obvious what you really worship by what you really do. For instance, if a man's telling his wife how much he loves her, but he's spending all his time with other ladies, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? And he won't do that long until she'll straighten him out anyway. But the idea is that what you say with your mouth isn't necessarily what you're really doing with your life. And Islam is not a religion. Islam is not a religion. We say it, but that's not true. Because Islam is an action, it's a verb, it's what you do. Whereas religions are named after a person, a place, or a thing. We're back to the noun again, right? The word Islam is not the object of worship. Like some of the brothers always say, teach us about dawah, how to call people to Islam. I said, I don't know how. I don't have a clue. I can call the people to Allah, but the way they get to Allah is through Islam. So calling the people to Islam doesn't make a whole lot of sense if they don't know what's the noun. Kind of like calling people to a highway, but you don't know where it goes. What will they do? Which way will they go on the highway? Right or left? Up or down? East or west? North or south? You're on the highway, but now what? And then even if you said it's that way and they started going, after a while they go, why am I doing this? Where am I going? To what extent is this? I'm traveling. I'm getting tired, you know. Maybe I'll just get off here and hang out or do this or do that. And it makes sense. If you understand what I just said, it makes sense that you have to call Him to Allah first. So who is Allah? Why do you use this word? Why don't you say God like a normal guy does? Christians often think that everybody says God. It's a Christian. But it's not true. The majority of the Christians in the world don't use that word. We have a very narrow-minded idea of what the world is like because we always base it on the 30 miles that we grew up in. That's it. That's what we know. The majority of the Christians in the world today, from one denomination, are Catholic. If you want to take one denomination of Christianity, the number one is Catholic. And the majority of all the Catholics don't live in America. The majority live where? South America, Central America, Mexico, France, Italy, Spain. Did I name them? About right? None of those languages use the word God. Dios and do. That's what they use. Whoops. Whoops. Oh, you missed that one. Well, guess what else? Go to Russia. Go to Germany. Go to those European countries that you can't pronounce the name of. And look, they have Christians. And ask them, what do you call the one that you worship? And it's not the same name. True?
True.
Now, let's do the opposite. You choose the country. I don't care which one it is. Any one you want. There's maybe, 200 or 300 countries? I don't know how many there are. A bunch of them. Choose any one you like. Go ahead. Choose a country.
Italy.
Italy? Okay, good. Choose a country.
Nigeria.
Nigeria, okay. Country.
Russia.
Russia?
Yeah.
Good country.
India.
India? Somebody? Huh?
Palestine.
Palestine? Okay, that's cool. Come on. China. Okay. Now, every one of the countries named so far, what do the Muslims call their God?
Allah.
Allahu Akbar. Well, you didn't know where I was going with that one, did you? It wouldn't have mattered what country you said, would it? Is there any country in the world where Muslims don't know the word Allah? There are some countries that substitute, like in America, we say God when we mean Allah, but we're trying to translate for the other people. Afghanistan, parts of Iran, and the northern part of Pakistan, they say Khuda Hafiz. God preserve you. But it should be Allah Hafiz.
Yes.
But they're translating it. So but they know Allah. But this is giving an example. So that if you want to know what's the best name to call the one and only God, let's examine the word and think about it. According to what we understand from the Bible, Old and New Testament, God is one. What we understand from the Quran, God is one. We don't have any argument on the subject of God being one. All of us would agree to that. There is reference to God is one. Now the word Elah can be made plural. Alihah. Gods. Right? That's it. This is my coach over here for my Arabiya. You got to keep eye on him. The only thing about when somebody from Egypt is teaching you Arabic, you got to be careful that when you go to the masjid on Guma. Are you okay with this? Alhamdulillah, Amar's with us today. Those of you listening to this broadcast, my runaway son is here. I found you, mashallah. You surprised me. By the way, don't keep this guy in your community. He's no good. No, send him back to me. I need him. Alhamdulillah. But we were talking about this word Allah. I want to think about that a minute. It can be made plural. In English, you make God plural. You just put an S after it. God's. Right? So. But when you say Allah, an amazing thing happens with this word. Because other words in Arabic, when you put al in front of it, it means the, as opposed to a. Any old house, you say Bayt or Baytun. But when you say Al-Bayt, that's the house. But you could say God, Elah, is God. A, little g in English, okay? They only got one word in English anyway. Little g, O-D, a God. Alright? Put S, God's. Elah, Alihah,